Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined by Mr. Denny Carter. Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? We will not tell you. We are not allowed to by NBC Legal. We are allowed to tell you. We're going to be breaking down the Colts' chaos, the Dolphins' new backfield committee everyone is happy about, DeAndre Swift's new usage reality, or is it? And much some more. So much more. Denny, you liked my intro today, it seems like.
Yeah, you got me rolling here. I mean,
good way to get the show because get the show rolling because it was hard not to be rolling on the floor laughing, Denny, at the Colts news that broke Monday morning, where they fired one of the most respected coaches in the NFL, and Frank Reich, and replaced him with, this is not a joke, a high school football coach, Jeff Saturday. He may be a, quote, 14-year NFL veteran and may, quote, be in the Colts Ring of Honor, but seems like a bit of a stretch to name him a head coach, especially like this is kind of like if you're going to make this hire, you need to make this hire on like January 8th, you know, where they have like the whole offseason to get at, like the guy was literally like tweeting, like on his quite literally sitting on his couch tweeting. If you go through his Twitter, lots of really casual football observations, including one that Week 10 Indianapolis opponent Las Vegas is, quote, horrible, is what he tweeted on October 30th, Jeff Saturday. So it could be an awkward handshake with Josh McDaniels after the game. But I don't even know where to begin with this other than I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah. Well, it seems like they're teeing it up for a Jeff Saturday Disney Plus movie where he is played by Craig James.
Yeah. Craig James Craigers, as he's known, has got the market cornered on those kind of roles.
Right. And it'll be the feel-good story of a former Colts player coming into Indianapolis and losing the final 8 games of the season. But
getting punched in the face by Josh McDaniels.
But learning lessons along the way, you know, such as, hey, Sam Ehlinger is not a pro caliber quarterback and Jonathan Taylor is too hurt to play. And we don't have any receivers behind Michael Pittman. Things like that, you know, so he'll be learning, you know, as he goes.
And how they used to be an organization of stability and or just anything but right now Jim Irsay kind of operating like a loose cannon. Like a non-Colts matters to me. And you got to give him props. He seems to be the one who forced the sale of the Washington Commanders, so he's done some good. But he's ordered a
ball right now.
Yeah, he ordered a quarterback benching, more or less. I mean, reading between the lines.
It
sort of seems like Jim Irsay ordered the benching of Matt Ryan. Then he fired the offensive coordinator Marcus Brady last week, and then when that was not enough, he fired Frank Reich on Monday, who, again, one of the more respected coaches in the NFL.
Our friend Rich Rebar, I'm not going to list all the numbers, but he definitely he cited enough numbers to show that the Colts' performance against the Patriots, the offensive performance, was one of the worst in recent history. But what did you expect? Like, you know, you have a banged up offensive line, even at full health, they're not very good. Sam Ehlinger, like, who could like barely get by against Washington at home and decent game script against Bill Belichick, who eats inexperienced quarterbacks alive in New England. I mean, what, like, I think that this comes down to Jim Irsay was embarrassed in front of his good friend Bob Kraft.
My theory on this is, so a lot of people are saying, why not fire Chris Ballard? Like, why are you hiring the coach? And why not fire the guy who's been choosing these quarterbacks? And my theory on that is that maybe Frank Reich has actually kind of been choosing the quarterbacks. I mean, obviously Chris Ballard is the GM, and it doesn't seem like one of those situations where like Chris Ballard has like low key final say on the roster or anything like that. But that, you know, probably every offseason, like, hey, what kind of quarterback do you want? And I'll be like, I don't know, Carson Wentz. I'm like, I don't know, Matt Ryan. I don't know, Phillip Rivers. And or maybe they were growing displeased with this, but I mean, this is total speculation. And it just seems like an odd scapegoating choice.
It was. And Frank Reich's a good coach, and he will obviously land on his feet, probably have success as an offensive coordinator somewhere. I saw some.
He'll probably honestly get another head coaching job.
Yeah, he will
in January.
He will. You know who won't get another head coaching job is Jeff Saturday.
Well, not if he might keep it, Denny. Because I mean, the bar is so low, dude. If he goes 3-5, he's keeping the job. I can guarantee you.
There's zero chance they're going 3-5.
If he gets 3 wins, he's keeping the job.
Oh, yes, no, I agree with you. If he gets 3 wins, he'll be the coach till 2045.
Yeah. I bet we're going to see Matt Ryan reinstalled too, because you're having a guy come in from high school. He might be kind of like Can we at least play the real quarterback?
Oh,
Please.
oh my God, you're right. Oh my God, they actually deactivated Ryan and said he'll, like, basically, in so many words, he will never play another down in this city again. And he's gonna play. He's gonna come back.
He's now his commanding officer. He's been recalled to base, and they're like, "Get Matt Ryan back here. He's not on leave anymore."
They have to. They have to do it. Oh no, because Ellinger is not the answer.
His dual threat. Well, so yeah, to call him a dual threat, to call him a mono threat would be a stretch at this point.
I'm sorry. Okay, all right. So I think in NFL media in general, we need to stop. And I'm not blaming you for anything here, but we need to stop saying dual threat because a guy is willing to run. He has to be okay at it.
Yeah,
he has to be at least passable. And Sam Ellinger is just straight up slow. He's just a very slow NFL player. He's very extremely unathletic. I mean, Taylor Heineke looks like Michael Vick compared to Sam Ellinger.
You know, the most fraudulent dual threat ever was probably Carson Wentz, maybe last year even. And where Carson Wentz had that thing where he was willing to run. He decided he was Cam Newton every other game. He would just get splintered apart for loss.
He's pretty slow. He wasn't slow before the knee thing, by the way, but he is slow today. But yeah, I mean, Sam Ellinger was a disastrous decision. They should have just, wrote it out with Matt Ryan.
Well, I mean, I think maybe it was worth giving him basically to seeing was there any wild hair upside here. What's there? You'll never know if you don't try. They tried and now they know. And for the purposes of even when your season is lost, you can't just let it go off the rails completely because you can't let everyone on the roster, you can't let all 53 players lose career momentum. You need to keep a competent product going. And I think they actually will probably go back to Matt Ryan very, very, very soon.
There was a longtime Colts beat writer, whose name escapes me right now, who wrote today that the locker room seems to have been lost. And I can't imagine that hiring Jeff Saturday is going to going to win it back. And most of all here, we have to be happy for Nyheim Hines.
We do. He got off the sinking ship. And now I'll have to ask you about the remaining players. So producer Adam points out the Colts' remaining schedule at Las Vegas, who, again, Jeff Saturday has labeled as horrible, versus the Eagles, versus the Steelers, versus the Cowboys, at the Vikings, versus the Chargers, at the New York Giants, versus the Texans. They're going to win 3 games there, by the way, I think.
Well, let's see.
Texans, dub. Josh McDaniels, dub. Kenny Pickett, dub. No, probably not. Probably none of these. Probably Houston. I think 2 victories out of that.
They might have to fold the franchise after the Eagles game.
They might. Yes. Boy, yeah, not a good time for that Eagles game.
Yeah.
And so that's the remaining schedule. Trying to think of this critically, I guess assuming Sam Ellinger is going to remain under center for now, where do we go from here with Michael Pittman, with Alec Pierce, I guess with Jonathan Taylor? We don't know his week 10 status. Just where on earth do we go from here with these skill players?
I think Michael Pittman, if Ellinger stays under center, is at best a wide receiver 3.
He's in DJ Moore land pretty much, I think.
Alec Pierce is unusable except for in super deep leagues. I suppose Paris Campbell has some usability. I don't know. I mean, I know that the Ellinger is not throwing the same sort of quick hitting passes that Matt Ryan was. Now, I will say I'm not willing to give up on any of these guys because, and I know this sounds funny for as bad as Matt Ryan was in the first 6-7 weeks of the season, but if Matt Ryan comes back and they reinstall that fast-paced, quick-hitting, shotgun-heavy attack that they used for 2 games before he was benched, that's good. That's good for fantasy.
It's good for fantasy. It might not be good for real life, but it'll be very good for fantasy.
No, it's terrible for real life. Awful.
It's what they have to do, though, too.
But if they go back to that, then I think you just pick up where they left off. Paris Campbell becomes an interesting PPR option. Alec Pierce has maybe a little bit of appeal as a downfield threat, and Michael Pittman, has that same appeal as Paris Campbell, as the underneath intermediate stuff that we saw. So don't give up, don't drop them. But for now, you should consider other options. Jonathan Taylor, I hope he sits for a little while longer. The ankle's not right.
No.
You have to play him. I mean, honestly, you have to play him though. Like if he's playing.
Yeah, for sure. He's a must start because sometimes with these injuries, I mean, this is like sounds like hokum. This sounds like superstition, basically. Sometimes just all of a sudden 1 week they are healthy, and if Jonathan Taylor, like basically anytime he's active, he's a threat to like 160-yard game. So I would never bench Jonathan Taylor if he's I mean, I know most of our listeners wouldn't consider benching him.
Probably not. I mean, I've seen some people in my Twitter mentions saying, should I? Maybe. I don't know.
No, you should not.
By the way, the Colts their run blocking fourth worst in the league right now, behind only Jacksonville, Chargers, and Cardinals.
Well, interim coach Jeff Saturday is also returning to the interior line, I think. So that'll be a huge boon for the Colts run blocking.
Did you happen to see that clip of Peyton Manning dressing down Jeff Saturday on the sideline like 15 years ago?
Oh my gosh.
Apparently Saturday was, I guess, changing the plays at the line, and Peyton Manning did not take kindly.
No, you don't do that to Peyton Manning.
And he was screaming it, and you just don't see that. And then one of the other offensive linemen came in and was like, "Sit your butt down, Peyton."
Oh, I've seen that. I was like,
"What?" Oh, yeah. I mean,
Peyton. It's weird. Peyton would do that, but somehow kind of remain one of the guys. I don't really know how. He kind of thread that needle.
No. He was threading the needle in the clip because he was looking at the other offensive lineman who stepped into the altercation. He goes, "We're cool. We're cool. I'm not cool with Jeff Saturday. He's changing my plays." Basically, you remember Peyton used to shift out of a run into a pass inside the 5-yard line
multiple times per play.
Literally every play. I think Saturday was getting in his way of racking up the throwing touchdowns.
Yeah, he wanted as many autos and as many Peyton all-time stat patter. I mean, just what you have to do. No hate there. You have to do it.
Huge respect.
Big time respect. But this is a relic of a time gone by in American sports, by the way. Like an owner making like a soup. This used to be like really kind of like, George Steinbrenner fired Billy Martin for the 40th time this season.
Right.
And you just don't see this happen. So to see it happen, it's kind of almost giving me nostalgia. Like an owner made a horrible, impetuous, rash.
Yeah.
This is what I love about sports.
Yes. Yeah. Right. You don't see an owner completely off the rails in the very carefully managed, optimized to within an inch of its life social media age.
No, you just don't. And there's just too much money at stake. And Denny, two teams that may be pondering extremely rash moves should be the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And our pre-show call, you really didn't seem to have much interest in this topic.
I do.
I'm going to bring it up anyway. Of the Bucs, of the Packers, which team do we consider more likely to turn things around? I don't even know what turn things around quote even looks like. But which team is more likely to turn things around?
I have an answer for this, and the answer is the Tampa Bay Bucs.
Probably the only answer, right?
And I have some numbers because I haven't seen either of these teams play. I've never actually seen Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers.
You should. Hey, this is Tom saying you should check out one Tom Brady game before he retires. Tell your kids you watched the game.
I do hear that. I probably have another 5 or 6 years left. So
you probably do, unfortunately.
We'll see. So here's why I say the Bucs. Okay, the Packers have the 7th lowest pass rate over expected on 1st and 10. They run their offense at the 6th slowest pace in the league. Basically, the Packers are relying on the extreme efficiency they enjoyed with Davante Adams, basically playing pitch and catch, Steve Spurrier style with Aaron Rodgers. He's not there anymore. I don't know. We're hearing this right now. Davante Adams is now in Las Vegas, but they're trying to do the same stuff. They're trying to run it the same way, and they can't. And Pat Crane, in his walkthrough column, which comes out on NBC Sports Edge every Friday,
devotee of, and it's an amazing column.
Very, very into it. He's been saying this since week 1 that Matt LaFleur, back in week 1, he was saying Matt LaFleur cannot possibly try to run this offense the way that they did with Davante Adams. And they have every single week. They have slow paced, just relying on efficiency to kick in. It doesn't kick in when Allen Lazard is your wide receiver 1. It just doesn't. So what I'm saying is the Packers are not trying, okay, on offense. The Bucs, however, are trying. Bucs had the 4th highest pass rate over expected on 1st and 10. They operate at the fastest offensive pace in the league. Tampa Bay has the 3rd lowest EPA per rush in the league. They're awful. Awful.
So is this a reason they're going to be good?
No, what I'm saying is they are abysmal. Leonard Fournette has been horrendous. Rachaad White has been worse, actually.
Yeah.
And not as a receiver, but as a rusher. Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, would do well to completely abandon the run going forward, to abandon like KC style. KC this past week, Kansas City had 75% pass rate on early downs. The Bucs had 55%. If the Bucs can get up into that 70%, 75% range, I think that would give them the best chance to succeed, because they're getting nothing from the running game.
Especially because I just don't think Tom Brady is that physically diminished. And
No.
I got into a debate in our Slack with Kyle Dvorak, where I don't really think I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the issue. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers' attitude has clearly become quite toxic. Yeah. Like, if you were watching this Lions game, he's like storming Norman the whole game, like just furious, like just like cannot hide his fury, like palpable from like the opening whistle, just angry. But like he's still pretty much doing drop in a bucket throws. Like, he still seems to have the exact same arm strength, almost the exact same timing. But this supporting cast is just a laughing stock. And all of Twitter, all of Packers media, all of like Packers Kingdom was right that maybe you should have been adding some more receivers the past few years.
Yeah.
Now they finally invested some resources in it, but the rookies who are always behind the developmental curve, now they're always hurt. Like, there's just no one he has chemistry with. The only player he has any chemistry with is Robert Tonyan. And he's just not that good, and he's coming off a torn ACL. So there's just basically no safe haven for Aaron Rodgers, and he is very angry about it. We're talking real angry.
Right. Someone in our watching us on Twitch says that Rodgers underthrew a ball yesterday that could have gone for a long touchdown.
So this was a 44-yard.
I agree with you. I agree with what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. Were you going to say that it wasn't really an underthrow?
I thought it was a good throw.
I thought it was a good throw too, and it was a spectacular defensive play. And maybe like prime Aaron Rodgers gets like the extra inch under that throw. But like when I saw that throw, I was actually encouraged by that. Like, oh yeah, he's still just like dropping a missile down the field.
Yeah.
And it took like a spectacular highlight reel to bust up this play. It was kind of my maybe I'm just trying to see things that aren't there. But I mean, I'm like anyone else. So I've been kind of like it's hard not to laugh like the Aaron Rodgers struggle. But like going in this game kind of expecting to see him struggling, I just like didn't see that. I really did see a guy like, he should probably be mad at his supporting cast because they're letting him down.
Look, I can't think of a team besides Tennessee that has a worse receiver room than Green Bay. I would say the Texans, but I think Brandon Cooks puts them over the top of the Packers. I can't. I'm struggling to come up with anybody. So
that's partly because Denny. I'll set you up for this one because Romeo Doubs, high ankle sprain, injured the very first play against the Lions. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. There's someone you wanted to talk about in the Green Bay receiver core, and I'll allow it.
Yeah, right. And look, the Supreme Court has ruled 6-3 that I can actually talk about these guys. So thank you. I want to talk about two Packers receivers.
No, you've upped it to 2. It was only 1 when we were on the phone.
Things have changed. Things have shifted. My interns have looked into it more strongly since we've spoken. So Sammy Watkins operated as the wide receiver 2 with both Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs out last week or against the Lions on Sunday. Ran the second most routes, saw the second most wide receiver targets at 5. Of course, this resulted in exactly 1 reception for 9 yards, as Sammy Watkins does. So I'm going to personally struggle to get excited about Sammy Watkins' prospects as the wide receiver 2 in Green Bay. I struggle a little less to get a little more excited, if you're keeping track here, of Samori Toure as the slot receiver for Aaron Rodgers, at least for the short term. So against the Lions, he was 3rd among Green Bay wideouts and pass routes. It was only a 50% pass route participation rate. That's partly because Amari Rodgers mixed in as a slot guy.
You're talking about someone Aaron Rodgers does not like.
Oh man, he does not like Amari Rodgers. So Toure saw 4 targets on limited routes, so 19% target per route run rate, which is really solid in a miniature sample size. Okay, and I am admitting this is very small. Torre's target per route run rate is almost the same as Randall Cobb and Romeo Doubs this season.
I was hoping you were going to say Davante Adams.
No. Yeah, it's 40%. Cobb is still sidelined. The Packers go up against a Dallas defense that has actually been top 10 in giving up receptions and yardage to slot receivers. I'm just saying that Torrey is interesting if he gets a full complement of snaps.
He's playing, so he's seeing time in the slot. He also seems to kind of be trying to emerge as like Aaron Rodgers, like scramble drill guy. And that was a throw that Aaron Rodgers kind of underthrew. Was more than the deep ball that could have been the 44-yard touchdown. There was a broken play where Rodgers vacated the pocket. Toure vacated his route, kind of was trying to work back to him. He was wide open for a pretty long gain. And Rodgers was on the move. He was kind of falling off to his side, and he turfed it like right at his feet. But he definitely seems like someone Aaron Rodgers at least is like considering developing chemistry with. And
he's interesting. He has an interesting college profile. He's I don't know. Look, I'm going to use a real football guy term and say he's more electric than either I think Lazard or Sammy Watkins.
So Sammy Watkins, just to take people through the low light reel against the Lions, he dropped a screen. He was going to be he was targeted on an end zone fade, except for he ran a slant instead and did not receive the target. And on the very final 4th and 10 play that ended the game, he was the intended target and appeared to again run the wrong route.
Wow.
The chemistry doesn't seem to be working out there.
These are things you don't expect from a veteran. And I feel like if Romeo Doubs did that, he would be cut.
He would. I mean, he already has been, actually. If you heard it here first, they cut him. No, they didn't. But he's probably going on injured reserve. I agree. Samori Toure, the past 2 weeks, I think it was back-to-back games, he's looked like someone like, man, I might actually consider taking a flyer on this guy.
I think he's interesting. I really do. And
there's so many targets for the taking there.
That's right. And Lazard doesn't command targets. He's not like a target black hole like Davante Adams was, obviously. So I think there will be. And this week doesn't set up great because both the Cowboys and the Packers try to score as few points as possible, and run as few plays as possible. So it's not the greatest fantasy environment. In fact, it's probably the worst fantasy environment.
Producer Adam, can you find us the early over/under on Packers Cowboys? By the way,
is it over 30? Is my question.
I'm assuming it's over 39.5, but it's probably over 39.
I'm gonna go with 41.5.
Yeah, I'll say 42.5. But it's gonna be not okay. It's 43. Yeah, 43. So that makes sense. I think
hammering the under.
Yeah, I'm going to hammer the under on that one, too. So Samori Toure, must add. Nice. He's kind of interesting. Denny, what was very interesting is Miami just collecting ex-49ers running backs. That's all Shanahan disciples know how to do. Yeah. It's a very self-contained, small universe. Like once you're in the Shanny-verse, you kind of never leave it. So Mike McDaniel, when he needed a new running back, he knew exactly what to do. Call up his old boss, Kyle Shanahan. Like, I need Jeff Wilson down here in Miami, like kind of stat, like ASAP pronto. They send him down. He immediately leads a committee that features ex-49ers running back as well. Raheem Mostert outhandled them 12-9. Yep. And Chicago's 12 touches were his most since week 5, by the way, for Jeff Wilson. So he's getting more usage than he even got in San Francisco. Is this a blip? Is this like a changing of the guard? What is it other than we know extremely annoying for the foreseeable future?
It's not annoying for me, who has Jeff Wilson in. Let me check every league. So I am somewhat bullish on it, and that does look just as a peek behind the curtain. That affects how fantasy analysts talk about players. Okay, like if I had Raheem Mostert in every league, I'd be like, I don't care. I don't care about Jeff Wilson. But let me tell you the facts on Jeff Wilson, whether I like him or not. Obviously, he's very familiar with this system. Let me read you a quote that he had from just the day after he was acquired by Miami. It's like riding a bike. I've been doing this since day one. Same running styles, same passing styles, same one-on-one matchups to get you in the open field. Everything's the same. It's something I've been doing. It's something I'm comfortable with. It's very, very familiar to
really laying it on thick.
He said the same thing 11 different ways, and you have to respect that.
It was almost thou doth protest too much. Maybe the system's totally different. I don't know.
Maybe no.
Laying it on way too thick there, Jeff.
Also, I mean, I actually couldn't find Mike McDaniel's. Maybe our listeners can. Mike McDaniel's quote about Jeff Wilson, but he basically went full Belichick and was like, when you talk about the most important people in this country's history, you talk about Abraham Lincoln, you talk about MLK Jr., and you talk about Jeff Wilson. Anyway, Wilson's been good this year, actually really good. He's 10th in yards before contact per carry. Only 7 running backs are higher in next-gen stats, rush yards over expected per attempt. In other words, he has been very, very efficient. The thing is, Raheem Mostert has also been somewhat efficient. So it's not like Mostert has been bad. I'm not trying to say that. But I think that in the first game, in the debut, 5 days after he's traded to Miami, for him to out-snap and out-touch, I believe, Raheem Mostert is a signal that it could be Jeff Wilson's backfield down the line, although Mostert is definitely going to keep mixing in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those really, really frustrating situations, just where, like, the Shanny game plan, Mike McDaniel in this case, is this kind of always be a little inscrutable, like ahead of time, where you might have a good idea of what it might be, but you're not going to really know until the game starts. And there could be some weeks where I feel like, again, it's close to 20 Raheem Mostert touches. Because really, why would anyone ever be game planning like 15 Jeff Wilson touches? I don't really understand why, but he's a perfectly fine role player. I will concede that point.
You're such a hater.
I am, for some reason, a Jeff Wilson hater.
I don't get it.
I don't know what he did to me.
What he did to you is you have Raheem Mostert on your team.
I actually don't. I don't have either of them this year.
No?
I had a lot of Elijah Mitchell last year. I will say that.
I'm usually really good at sussing out who has whom on their fantasy teams according to how they talk about them. I assumed you had 100% Mostert.
I actually don't. I don't know where the Jeff Wilson disdain comes from. It's kind of more, I think maybe like Shanny. Sometimes I get annoyed at like the Shanny coaching tree and just like kind of like not broadening the horizons. Like, well, the only guy who can run this system is Jeff Wilson.
I know.
So we just got to do it. One player in the league we can trade for. It's why we traded 3 first-round picks for Jeff Wilson.
Right. We had a choice between Saquon Barkley and Jeff Wilson. We had to go with Jeff Wilson.
Yeah. So I think that's where a little of it comes from. But
yeah,
I do agree that it needed to become a committee because Raheem Mostert, you're playing with fire, giving a player with his injury history that many touches. He seemed to kind of already be wearing down on his workload. So I actually do understand why they went out and got another back and added in this backfield. And we'll just be up front that I think it'll be hard for me to prognosticate in like the rankings column. So,
right. I will say that even though the Dolphins are top 5 in pass rate over expected, obviously pass first team, like no matter what, okay, they're in like the Bills Chiefs conversation right now. That still creates a positive fantasy environment for whoever can be the lead back in that situation. Teams are backing off. Teams are playing the pass. They're scared to death of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So it does open up some good spots for whoever takes on that role.
So speaking of backfield, speaking of committees, the Lions. I mean, the Lions. You can't say they didn't try to warn us. Like they basically announced a snap count during the week for DeAndre Swift, but I don't know if anyone had anything quite this dramatic in mind. I think it was like 10 snaps for DeAndre Swift. Like the stat I latched onto is that he outtouched Justin Jackson 5-4. Like that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
We did get a quote, Denny, on Monday from Dan Campbell telling reporters they want to get DeAndre Swift, quote, a little bit more involved this week. Because he looked healthy. I thought he looked a lot healthier than he did in week 8, where he actually looked ready to contribute. Understandably so, though, they might be scared that he'll just get injured again. What's the lay of the land here?
Swift saw 4 targets on 7 pass routes this week against the Packers. And so I think he continues to be a weapon, a guy who really commands the ball when he's out there. It's just a matter of him ramping up to a full workload. I don't really know what we're waiting for or what they're waiting for. If this is like a really long-term thing that's going to affect him for the rest of the year. But yeah, I mean, Justin Jackson's involvement against the Packers was like downright disturbing. Like you've come to terms with Jamal Williams being the goal line guy and really just vulturing a lot of high value fantasy opportunities from Swift. Okay. Like, okay, we hate it, but we get it. That's happening. But Justin Jackson mixing in and Swift barely playing in a script that should be friendly for him doesn't bode well. So I guess, I mean, you drafted him in the second round. So you got to keep
late
playing
first.
him. Yeah, you got to keep playing him. But he's losing out, like I said, on so many of those high value touches in that offense.
And when you say you got to keep playing him, I think you can do like a little more charitable wording, and like you should keep playing it. Like the thing is, you can't play him as an RB2. Obviously, he's full on like boom bust flex. He's the kind of guy. I mean, he had 5 touches and he turned them into 50 yards. So the guy gets 5 touches and he reaches the half century mark. He was a yard away from a touchdown. Very frustrating. He carried the ball down to the 1 yard line, and they immediately brought in Jamal Williams, who did not score, by the way. Part of this too, Jamal Williams playing a really, really bad Packers run defense, had 24 carries for 81 yards. So it's not like he's like putting this job out of reach, but I do understand the Lions coaching staff's like hesitance to commit to this guy. Yeah. Every time they do, he immediately gets hurt. Maybe it's bad luck. Maybe it's just a fluke. I do think you keep rolling him out there as a flex, but it's like the classic, you just have to adjust expectations. You treat him as a high variance flex and not the RB2 and maybe RB1 you thought you were getting.
I think, it's similar to Antonio Gibson. It's a thing where, we try to wish cast some of these super talented guys into massive workloads. And it just doesn't work. Sometimes the team sees something, knows something that, hey, you know what? He's better deployed as a change of pace back. And Swift is the kind of guy, reminds me a little bit like in that way of Jamal Charles before he was like fully unleashed, where he doesn't actually need that many touches to make a difference. No,
he needs 12 to 15 touches. That's
12 touches, and Swift can do a lot of damage statistically. So
yeah, I mean, again, 5 touches, he gets to 50 yards. One of those was a really long reception, so a lot of it came on one catch. But he's the kind of where you don't need. Yeah, excellent point that you don't need 20 touches, even 10. If you told me I was getting 10 DeAndre Swift touches, I'd be like, yeah, I'm starting him for sure.
That's better than 20 Jamal Williams touches.
No, yeah, better than 25 I don't know why I had to. Yeah, that was kind of pointless.
Better than 45, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of a pointless ante thing from me. But we'll up the ante again right after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. Contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in college football, on the PGA Tour, and in the Premier League. There's also $100,000 up for grabs by guessing the outcome between the Chargers and 49ers in our Sunday Night 7 contest. And don't forget, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in your app store today. Danny, I'm going to go a little off script because right before we were coming on the show, there's a lot of Josh Allen updates going around. We don't really have much to talk about this yet, but the Josh Allen elbow news sounds a little concerning. Chris Mortensen has reported during this podcast that Josh Allen is, quote, being evaluated for an elbow injury to his ulnar collateral ligament, that is the UCL that baseball pitchers tear all the time, and related nerves, per source. Bills coach Sean McDermott said earlier today the team hopes to have more information on Tuesday.
My goodness.
He played through the injury against the Jets, but I mean, pitchers have pitched through torn UCLs before, but not for very long usually. Man, I just hope. I've been on the warpath lately about like Josh Allen needs to rein it in, and please just let this be a minor injury and like be a reminder to Josh, like, all right, stop exposing your body to like all this crazy punishment.
Massive hits.
He played through it. I think he'll probably be okay. I'm a doctor, as you know.
You are. First and foremost, you are a doctor.
First and foremost, I know. I mean, I'm doing this. I can't get these nurse practitioners stuff. They're saying I, quote, have patience right now. Why am I always podcasting? And the answer is I don't know.
Right. Stop setting your horrible
my reviews on like these doctor review websites are just hellaciously.
Not good.
No, they're not good.
Maybe if you could take your eyes off the spreadsheet for 1 minute and look at someone's UCL.
I don't even see them as real people. They're just dots to me.
That's probably the best way to approach it. Look, I want to say to the Bills fans who were jokingly tweeting about Josh Allen's supposedly serious elbow injury all day, congratulations on jinxing yourself.
No, I don't think they did. I actually do.
They were dead. The Bills Twitter was saying, oh, Josh Allen's really hurt because Ian Rappaport said this. Our guy can't be hurt. And Chris Mortensen's like, the UCL might be seriously damaged.
It does seem like Josh Allen was under the impression he could not get hurt. So I'm hoping this is like a minor, like hopefully it's a minor injury and kind of like a wake-up call to him. Like, yeah, wow, if I'm going to be in this league a long time, I probably don't need to be exposing my throwing shoulder to huge hits like every drive.
Right. It would be good.
I can't. Mahomes or Josh Allen, can I pick your point? This would be like the single most devastating injury I could think of.
Oh my God.
Cannot lose Josh Allen. We just cannot lose Josh Allen.
It would be a huge blow for the league, for the Bills, obviously, for fantasy. I mean, wow. Yeah. Case Keenum would be the starter for Buffalo.
We don't need to get into that yet. My God.
So I would say just from a fantasy standpoint, you pick them up in Superflex just in case.
Just that actually is a good point, because I think Josh Allen will practice this week, but probably not a bad idea to holster Case Keenum. That is good advice. You talk about a huge blow, Denny. The robust RB drafters never saw it coming. Jaylen Warren, probably had never heard of him. I mean, frankly, I don't know if I had heard of him coming into the season. He supposedly, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported over the bye, Steelers are planning a lot of big changes, like more of a George Pickens commitment when they come off bye this week. Maybe more of a Jaylen Warren commitment, who Najee Harris has just been so bad. Next gen stats is like expected yards over carry. Oh, gosh, I cited my column. The York. His York is awful.
I love that you intentionally butcher that stat.
I mean, it is a great stat from stats. And like what it's expected yard. I actually
it's are you good? That's the stat.
Yeah, are you good? Najee Harris horrible in rush yards over expected per attempt.
There you go.
One of the worst in the league. Jaylen Warren's one of the better ones in the league. There was already smoke percolating here that he might get a bigger role.
Yeah.
What are we thinking coming off the Steelers?
I mean, I talked about it last week in my waiver column. Jaylen Warren makes as much sense as a bench stash as any running back in the league right now, because Najee Harris has been so bad. So the only running back with a worse rush yards over expected per attempt is Cam Akers.
Yes.
His
is way down there. No, this stat. You know how this stat is useful, Denny? Is because it correlates very strongly with the eye test. Basically, any running back you think has been bad this year will have an extremely bad rush yards over.
That's right. I think that this is the one stat that can bring film bros and analytics bros together, and sisses, of course. And look, Warren has actually been really good on his limited opportunities. In week 8 against the Eagles, he had 50 yards on just 6 carries. He had 2 catches for 25 yards on 3 targets. He played 30% of the Steelers' offensive snaps in week 8. That was, of course, before the bye week. And Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, who is seemingly always coaching for his job.
How have they not fired this guy? I mean, no offense to Matt Canada, but it doesn't make the narrative quite often.
Guy's been on the hot seat since he got a cup of coffee at the Steelers press conference when he was announced.
Since he spilled a scalding hot coffee, cup of McDonald's hot coffee on Don't Sue Me McDonald's.
On Mike Tomlin. It was unfortunate.
It was a scene.
And so apparently the Steelers are ready to shake it up, and they dealt Chase Claypool, and they're saying Pickens is our number 1 dog because he has all that dog in him. And maybe Warren has a bigger role. Now, if Warren takes like half the snaps in the backfield, he's probably still not like a viable fantasy option outside of like RB3, RB4 territory, touchdown dependent type stuff. But it's if Najee Harris misses time, or if the team just says like, okay, we're making the move. we're prioritizing Jaylen Warren, especially if it's a PPR league and Jaylen Warren gets the pass catching stuff where he really has excelled. That's when he's a difference making bench stash. I could see that happening down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, he's already rostered in a lot of leagues, but Jaylen Warren, it's to the point where he needs to be 100% rostered. And
no, he's not. He's not even.
He needs to be 100% rostered.
Yeah.
And Najee Harris's defense, the guy suffered a Lisfranc injury in August and has been trying to play through it, and it just is not going well at all. He's averaging almost a full yard less than expected per carry. It's pretty shocking ineptitude.
So he wasn't good last year either, but he had like literally 100% of the routes, 100% of the snaps, all of the goal line carries. And so he got there. Like that's the kind of stuff that gets you there based, generated entirely on volume. He doesn't have that. I actually think you could probably do better in 12-team leagues. You probably do better than playing Najee Harris going forward.
Yeah, it sounds weird to hear that said out loud, but it probably is true. It's a confluence of events that made things just not a good 2022 season for Najee Harris. Denny, Elijah Mitchell, fantasy managers probably stashing we're getting back the 49ers' true starting running back at some point. Then they traded 4 draft picks for who might still be the best starting running back in the NFL, and Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey usage already to the moon before the 49ers week 9 bye. So Elijah Mitchell designated a return this week. His 3-week window is open. He'll be back on the roster soon. They telegraphed by dealing Jeff Wilson. Any expectations at all for Elijah Mitchell, or is he just a pure insurance back?
I think it's entirely contingency based. CMC is going to take all of the touches that he can handle. And perhaps, given his recent injury history, perhaps that's not a lot. I'm thinking that McCaffrey drafters are kind of holding their breath and saying, I don't know if I'm great, super comfortable with my guy getting 25 touches a week. But I think that is Shanahan's plan going forward. He babysat McCaffrey, by the way, so we have to adjust for that.
They were adjusted long ago.
Yeah, and so Mitchell, look, if you have Mitchell, you sit him on the bench and you say, Elijah, I'm not playing you. But if anything happens to McCaffrey, you're a borderline RB1 in a very run first 49ers offense.
Even though it's run first, there's just no path to standalone value whatsoever. And an offense that has Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, etc. So keep him rostered. You don't need us to tell the reasons why. CMC, injury history, not great. And the offense quite run committed, but there's a good chance you keep him rostered and then literally never use him. So
that's right.
Denny, TJ Hockenson's Vikings debut went about as good as possible. Second most catches of his career. I think his target share was over 20%. And it was 9 catches, by the way. This is at a really complex position where it's especially difficult to change teams midweek. I've been told it's even difficult at running back by some of my coworkers. I had very limited expectations for TJ Hockenson's Vikings debut, but I cannot say debut. I don't know why.
It's debut.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it looks like he's already immediately their number 2 pass catcher. Is this correct?
Yeah. I mean, they really gave him the whole starting gig. Like Johnny Munt was not a thing. He's a real player, by the way. I looked it up.
He is.
Hockenson ran 37 routes on 43 dropbacks for the Vikings. Caught all 9 of his targets for 70 yards. He was the second most targeted Viking behind Justin Jefferson. Now, I don't know if that's super bankable going forward. I will say that it's bad news for Adam Thielen because Hockenson and Thielen will be competing for the same sort of targets, intermediate, middle of the field stuff. I would think that like Jeff Wilson excelling in his first game with the Dolphins, Hockenson comes in and excels and has a connection with Kirk Cousins in his first game. So I can't imagine that things get worse chemistry wise and working him into the offense going forward. I feel like it can only get better. So Irv Smith done for the year. It looks like Hockenson has that role all to himself, and it helps that Hockenson is not bad, not a bad player.
As we know, 9 catches is not going to happen very often. At least probably not. But for me, it was enough to definitely say, all right, he's going to stay in the top 8, maybe even push the top 5 because things are just that bad at tight end right now. And you can be, basically it was all good news in his Vikings debut. No touches of gray whatsoever. Denny, inform me you want to talk about Antonio Gibson. At least it was kind of a tossed off comment you made. I think you want to. Do you want to?
I did because many are saying that I was bullish on Antonio Gibson when J.D. McKissic was declared out with a neck injury. By the way, could be a long-term issue with McKissic. He's seeing a neck specialist, which is never good. Hope that he's okay. In the meantime, Gibson will take over the pass catching role. So against the Vikings, he did indeed lead the team in routes, 20 routes on 33 dropbacks for Taylor Heineke. Only saw 3 targets. And this is a week after Taylor Heineke checked down to his running backs 13 times against the Colts. So I thought that with McKissic out, that Gibson was a candidate for possibly double-digit targets. Didn't work out that way. His only like truly not special or spectacular play, but like productive play was at the very end of the game, where the Vikings defense was playing 50 yards off the line of scrimmage, and they just jumped it down to Gibson, and he ran out of bounds. Tried to run out of bounds. Did not succeed. Yeah. Okay, saying all that, I remain bullish if McKissic is out, because although Washington wants to play, that low-scoring, slow-paced type of game that they were able to play against the Vikings, they will not always be able to play that. And I think that in scenarios where they are pushed, and I believe they can be and will be pushed down the line, I think that Gibson is out there running way more routes and seeing targets in a slightly more balanced game plan for Washington. So don't get too sour on Gibson. McKissic being out is big for him.
Denny, it sounds like this time it counts with Antonio Gibson, is what you're saying.
The process was right, and that's all that matters. Just don't look at the box score. Just know that you were correct, that I was correct, more specifically, with the process.
Denny, who does the process say is a deeper receiver we should be paying attention to on waivers this week?
Well, you have a few options. There is, of course, Torre. You also have I lost my list here.
I think Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
I actually don't have a deeper receiver outside. Torre was my guy. I guess I should have saved him for this section.
Torre, I mean, I do think he's a great deep receiver. I mean, are we still excited about Wan'Dale Robinson? He's still under 50% rostered. Donovan Peoples-Jones is under 50% rostered, even though he gets 70 yards every week.
I'm not. I am not excited about Wan'Dale going forward, because it's become very, very clear that the Giants want to be run first, run heavy. Right now, they are 6th. They have the 6th lowest pass rate over expected, and I'm talking like they have some recent super run heavy scripts. Let's see, the Giants, just to give you an idea, week 6 minus 10% pass rate over expected. The next week minus 4%, and then week 8 minus 12%. Man. So I don't see any real path to anything close to consistent volume for Wan'Dale Robinson. So I guess that he's like possibly like a decent PPR wide receiver 3 or 4, but there's no, I just don't see a scenario where he becomes like a scam, like a PPR scam.
Darn, that's a real shame. Kind of need that to happen still.
I have him in a couple leagues, and it hurts that I end up playing like Khalif Raymond over him.
I'm assuming Terrace Marshall's season has been canceled after PJ Walker had 9 passing yards.
No, I will say he got by, with against the.
I believe it's when they were trailing 42-0.
Yeah, I mean, he ran every pass route, 6 targets, which was tied for the team lead with DJ Moore. I know he caught that garbage time touchdown. And also, they play Atlanta this week. And I wrote about it in my column that'll be out on NBCSportsEdge.com on Tuesday. It could be Tuesday right now. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, please don't.
Atlanta is atrocious against the pass, like worlds worse than anybody else. So I think that Terrence Marshall is still in play in Week 10.
Man, I really hope DJ Moore is still in play. You really buried the lead about this Falcons-Panthers matchup, Denny. That's because it's on Thursday Night Football.
Is it? Oh my God! Al Michaels is going to retire.
Al is fed up. Like he's just fed up. And Jeff Bezos is just screaming at an engineer somewhere. And he's like, I don't know why you're mad at me about this. I have no media training. I'm not involved in the media wing of the company whatsoever. But we'll try to fix it. We'll try to fix it, Jeff.
I low-key like PJ Walker this week. Don't fire me.
He has been announced. It sounds like he's starting again. So
he is starting.
Please, PJ, just get DJ Moore going.
And Pat, I have to tell you that this time it counts.
This time it counts. Which kicker does it count with, Denny? Who is our kicker of the week for Week 10?
Kicker of the week. This is an easy one. All right, folks should already know this on Monday, if it is Monday. Robbie Gould, folks. Robbie Gould. The Niners are heavy home favorites this week against the incredibly, laughably down bad Chargers. The 7-point favorites at home. LA allows the highest EPA per rush this season. I'm thinking that the Niners are going to establish it successfully against the Chargers, and that should lead to lots of positive game script. And what do we want with kickers? We want positive game script that generates field goal attempts throughout the game. I think Gould's a very safe play.
Step 1, establish it. Step 2, kick it. Step 3, profit.
It's going to be a 12-0 game.
It will be. Man, the Chargers. They are a tough watch. And they're somehow 5-3, by the way.
No, come on.
Yeah, they actually are. It's insane.
What?
I know. It's bad.
I didn't know Brandon Staley has actually ever won a game.
Yeah, I know. They are getting away with it. Man, there's some crazy. So, yeah, we got the Falcons and Panthers on Thursday Night Football. We have the Eagles and Bucs for some reason playing in Germany. That'll be fun.
It's Seahawks and Bucs.
What did I say?
Eagles.
Oh, yeah. Well, I meant to say the Seahawks. It was some bird. I don't know. Seahawks, Bucs. They're sending Pete Carroll to Germany. I'm sure everything will be fine. No, they're going to be eating God knows what these players are going to be eating before the game.
I'm sure Tom Brady will bring lots of alternatives to eat besides the bratwurst and German beer.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no one's going to be eating any liverwurst. But we shall see. It's going to be an interesting game. This is an interesting podcast. Please check out Denny's waiver column on Tuesday on Rotoworld/NBC Sports Edge. Got more episodes of the podcast coming later this week. Have my early rankings up on Tuesday. If you're listening on Tuesday, just keep it locked to the website. Hopefully we have good Josh Allen news on our news feed on Tuesday. For Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. We'll catch you later this week.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.